An Ohio dad was frustrated with his kids' Common Core math, and he uploaded this picture to Facebook. It's a check written to his kid's school, but using strange Common Core symbols. Needless to say, the check could not be cashed, but the picture went viral. Why? Millions of parents hate Common Core. They think it makes math unnecessarily complicated. I'm going to explain Common Core to you, and then I'm going to tell you why it's so bad. Here's a typical Common Core approach to a simple math problem. 8 plus 5 equals... Students are encouraged to get to friendly numbers like 10. How do you make that 8 into friendly 10? You add 2. So now you have to have 8 plus 2 plus 3. Now that's friendly 10 plus 3 equals 13. Yay! Some of you think that's a crazy way to do an easy math problem. But to me, it makes perfect sense because I'm a little bit weird. Common Core is made for people like me, people who struggled with math. I used to make up all sorts of my own Common Core type tricks to make it easier for me. These tricks are not a bad idea. It's just bad to teach them. You need kids to come up with their own tricks, or else they're not really tricks. They're just a lot of extra work. Just like the trophy for every kid philosophy, today's education is about slowing down and focusing on the kids who are struggling instead of forcing them to catch up. And it's making everyone weaker. Jamie, I didn't even know if that monologue made sense until now, but it really makes sense, doesn't it?
It actually does make sense. I'm against Common Core, actually. But what you were saying kind of makes sense on if states want to do it on the local level. Because it looks stupid when you do low numbers like that.
Yeah.
8 plus 5, everyone knows is 13. You don't have to do that to get there.
When I was a kid, though, I needed that kind of weird trickery.
But if you do bigger numbers, and if you're giving them in your head without a calculator, that's how you kind of do it. You kind of try to get to 900 if you're given 946 and minus things. So they're trying to teach you on a small level what to do on a larger level when you get more complex numbers. It kind of makes sense.
Ben, you almost seem like you disagree.
Common Core is one of the worst things that's ever happened. It was a huge expansion of federal government. It should have never occurred. And I think the irony of a government that is $19 trillion in debt attempting to give math advice to students is so unbelievably hypocritical. It would be like if Chris Brown went and did relationship training. It obviously would not work. It would make no sense at all. So I think the federal government really messed with an entire generation of children, and hopefully it can be off the books soon.
I agree with that, though. That didn't disagree with what I was saying.
No, he said I disagreed. I didn't disagree.
It seemed like you were shaking your head, so I wondered if there was some disagreement. But the thing is, Joanne, the reason Common Core came in here is because people like Bill Gates said we need students to be better at math and sciences, and so they instituted this thing. Did they just have the wrong idea?
Well, of course we want our students to get better at math and science, but this is offering a one-way approach. Like you said, you were a little different. You needed a different way to solve these problems. But what about the other kids who that way doesn't work for, especially people with learning disabilities?
No, I had learning disability. That's what it's for, I think.
But that's what I'm saying. Someone might have another disability where this doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think that there should be multiple ways to answer a problem. We should be teaching all of them to our kids. And as for the dad who wrote the check, very great. Okay, it's funny. It's on Facebook. But how about like going to some PTA meetings or like actually doing something or really trying to understand it and help your kid out? Because right now she's stuck with it. Or he's stuck with it. So, how are you going to help your kid?
Oh, wow. Joanne, slamming social media guy, huh? He is actually... No,
unless he's watching, then thank you for watching.
He is watching, and I thank him for watching. But he did say he's social media exhausted because he's dealing with the praise and with the slams, which happens when you get out there, right, Mark?
I agree with you, and I agree with you. I have dyscalculia. I can't compute numbers. I have a disease.
Did you make up that disease?
I did, but I have it. And I also agree with you that Chris Brown is a horrible person in a relationship. But my thing is, you do have to make up your own tricks. Like my friend's in a wheelchair, and before bed, he would roll really fast on the way to the bed and then hit the brakes and fly into bed. Now, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, you don't need to learn
does.
it. Yes.
It's the same with the core, Common Core, whatever it's called. Sometimes you gotta make tricks, but I think this is bad news because it makes kids into artists. Oh, 8 plus 9 is 10. And the teacher's like, what? Like, hold on, let me tell you why. And then you pull out the graph paper and you start, dicking around.
You joke, but on these Common Core tests, when you write your answer, they don't grade the answer, they grade the description that you...
Yes, they show work.
I mean, that's how you actually, when you do calculus, that's how you do it. They usually grade your process of getting there. And when you get to higher math, the answer is important, but also the process of how you got there is important.
Could you imagine having a job as a cashier when you're a teenager and you're trying to make change for someone, and you have to do it quickly because there's a lot of people in line, and you're like, oh, okay, 10 minus 4,
Here's
doing
a
all
20.
that, it doesn't make sense.
They teach those tricks too, though. When you get a job at a cashier, they show you how to do the counting backwards, where they say 870.
If you're going to make the person wait as you
that's
explain it to
9
them,
and
as
10.
they just want their Annie Ann's pretzel, I don't think so.
Right. But I think they should have, Ben, they should have a book that's Common Core, and it should be optional. Like, they should say artists and dummies and people people who can't grasp these concepts. There's a special way for you.
I totally agree with that. We did foster care when I was a child. We started in taking in foster brothers and sisters when I was 12 years old, and everyone learns differently, especially myself. The only reason I was able to graduate high school is because I helped out Walmart Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Kilsdonk. I helped her take Singer sewing machines to the trunk of her car, and she gave me a C.
That's
So
fantastic.
there's many different ways to graduate high school.
I would
There's tricks.
I would cheat off the hairless kid.
What?
The kid with no eyebrows.
right.
That was my move.
God bless you, Mrs. Kildonk.